Hi.
At the end of last week, I think I remember that Paige was gone, so
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our short sale and foreclosure class. Our host today is Wendy Haisley. She is the director of the short sale program for MZ Law Firm and has a vast amount of experience. Did I see you have participated in or closed over 4,000 short sale classes?
Since 2009, yep.
Yep. So you know this is not your first rodeo.
Correct. hence the white hair. I had brown hair when I started. Short sales turned me white.
Short sales.
A really impressive number.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That's a lot. That is a lot of experience, and we are looking forward to learning from you. For those of you who are on the call, I have emailed out to you a couple times now the handouts that Wendy has prepared that are part of this class. And so feel free to, if you can pull them up on another screen or print them out. Do you need to reference those during this class, Wendy?
Not specifically that they need to pull them up, no.
Okay, but they'll have them as ongoing reference then.
Right.
Perfect. That's terrific. So without further ado then, Miss Wendy, I will invite you to take it away and get right into the meat of the matter. Thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome, and thank you for having me, Keller Williams. This is probably the 20th one of these that I've done in the last couple months, just
Wow.
about all the KWs in Twin Cities. I want to give you a little bit about my background. I actually was a real estate agent for over 30 years. And the last brokerage I was with was actually Keller Williams in the Twin Cities. My husband is the broker manager of the Keller Williams in Coon Rapids, and I just say that because I want you to know that I really understand your end of the business. I also understand Keller Williams, training things and business model and so on and so forth. In 2009, I gave up my license, and Jeff Zweifel and I started the short sale negotiation program at Mark B. Zweifel Law Firm, where we help realtors get to successful closings and help homeowners get their short sales approved with the best terms possible, with debt relief and so on, so they can get started over. Like Wendy said, since that time, we've closed over 4,000 short sales. The national average of realtors that do the short sales negotiations themselves, the national average is 1 out of every 4 of those actually gets approved and closed. Our average is over 9 out of 10. We get approved and closed. So I just want to let you know there's no reason for a realtor to do it themselves for several reasons. One is time. What's your time worth? You could be golfing on a nice day like today while I'm sitting on hold with US Bank working on your short sale. But also, you guys are educated to market properties, not to negotiate debt. And these legal forms and things, it's by working with us, the homeowner has free legal advice throughout the process as well, so that you're not overstepping that boundary of providing legal advice that you're not licensed for. It's a very, very technical thing. I'll tell you a little bit about how our program works. When a real estate agent has a short sale listing or potential listing and you want to involve us, the first step is you have the seller give us a call, and we schedule a no-charge consultation with one of the attorneys. That consultation during COVID is all done by phone. And during the consultation, the attorney is going to explain to the homeowner how the short sale works, what documentation they have to provide, realistic timelines and expectations, and so on. They'll tell them what scary mail to watch for if they're in default, how to postpone their own short sale if one gets scheduled and why they need to do so, and of course answer any questions they may have. Then if the seller decides they want to proceed and they want us to represent them, they sign a retainer agreement with us, which is similar to your listing agreement. So we actually represent the seller, you represent the seller, but we work together to get them to a successful closing of their short sale. There may or may not be an out-of-pocket expense to the sellers for our representation. Our retainer fees are determined by the attorney during the initial consultation. They're based on the depth of the seller's financial hardship, their default or foreclosure status, and their employment status. About half of our sellers are charged $0. About a third of our sellers are charged just $195. That's it. those people, the 0 and 195, are people who have missed payments. They're losing the home through foreclosure. They're doing the short sale to avoid the negative effects of a foreclosure. But a small percentage of our clients are doing more of a strategic short sale where they can afford the payment. They just want to or have to sell the house. And it may be that their only hardship is they don't have the money to bring to closing, or they don't want to bring the money to closing. Those people are charged a one-time flat fee of $395, which is a very cheap exit from an underwater property because, of course, the lender pays their closing fees, the broker commissions, the prorated taxes, all that kind of thing. So a very cheap exit from an underwater property. Then once the seller retains us, while you're marketing the property, we collect all the financial documents directly from the homeowner that the lender requires, so you don't have to mess with that at all. We also order title work. We examine the title work and we work on title clearing if necessary. A lot of these people in short sales have other financial difficulties like state and federal tax liens, judgment liens, and so on. So we want to make sure that the title's getting cleared during the approval process so nothing prevents the closing. When you get an offer fully executed, you send the offer over to us. At that time, we prepare our own HUDs, we send it into the lenders, we negotiate it out, and we provide you, the listing agent, with a progress update at least once a week. And then it's your responsibility to pass that update on to the buyer's agent, so all parties stay informed and patient throughout the process. And then when it's approved, we close it with our contract closer, which is Legacy Title. So that's, there is a second fee we charge because you can't pay all the employees here, and a few sellers paying a couple $100. So the negotiation fee, to use round numbers, is a little over $2,000 per short sale. That fee we only earn if it's approved and closed, just like you with your commission. And also like your commission, that fee goes on the HUD and is charged to the short sale lender. Doesn't affect your commission whatsoever. And the lenders pay our fees in full almost all the time, well over 90% of the time. But maybe 2 or 3 times a year, I might get a short sale approval where they approve the short sale but shorted our fee. If that is the case and it does close, then the listing agent pays us the unpaid portion, but up to a maximum cost to the agent of $300. So as an example, if we have an approved short sale that closes, but they shorted our fee by $100, you'd pay us $100 at closing. But let's say they short our fee by $1,000. You'd pay the agent max, which is $300, and we waive the balance. So with short sales, sometimes everybody's got a little skin in the game, but most of the time doesn't cost the agent anything. Any questions on that at all? So I'm going to talk really fast. We have a lot to cover, and I'm really going to try to get done by 2 o'clock. So if you have any questions that pop up, just holler, okay? Because I may be spinning by something that I understand that you don't, and I need to make it more clear to you. So please just pipe up if you have a question anywhere through the process. Are we going to get more short sales because of the economic crisis from the COVID? Likely. Is it going to be an explosion of short sales and foreclosures like we had in 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12? Who knows? It's all going to depend on how long it takes to get a vaccine, whether or not we have to shut down again, you know, how many businesses are closed forever because of this, all of that kind of thing. But I was listening to an economic expert that advises the Federal Reserve and past presidents, pretty sharp guy. And he was saying regarding the housing market that there's a bunch of factors that may occur that, again, depending on how long this goes on. He said the first problem, of course, is significant unemployment, which, of course, we had. 6 weeks ago, we were at 20% unemployment. I think we're at about 11% right now. The demonstrations and the ruined businesses from the fires and the COVID stuff, none of that helped. It's all hurting and causing more trouble for more people. So so we do have extensive unemployment. When you have extensive unemployment, what happens is you end up with an explosion in bankruptcies. People can't pay their bills. They can't pay their mortgage payments. They can't pay their credit cards. A lot of these businesses are filing bankruptcies because they're never going to reopen. They can't pay their bills and so on. So when you have extensive bankruptcies, that leads to a tightening of credit. because the banks can only loan out a certain percentage of the money they're taking in. So if they're not bringing in the money due to the bankruptcies, they can't loan as much out. And that's when they will tighten the credit for mortgage applicants and other types of credit, which is what happened in 2008 that caused the housing crash. Once you tighten credit, the significant foreclosures that are going to occur is going to add more inventory to the market. Once the banks get to the point where they have to tighten credit, if we get there, that takes buyers out of the market. Remember Economics 101 in college, the number of buyers versus the amount of product determines the price. So if we have significant decrease in buyers and a significant increase in inventory, that's when the market prices will go down, and that's when short sales will go up. Right now, you guys have got a little over a 2-month market time. That's, as you know, very much a seller's market. You have multiple offers on most properties right away. If you get to a 4-month market time, average market time on MLS, that's an average market. That's a 2 to 3% value increase per year. It's a very healthy, stable market. But if you see your average market time go up to 5 or 6 months, that's when you're going to see prices go down, because people have 25 homes to choose from. They're going to buy the one that's the least price, right? So those are the things to watch for. Those are the things that may cause a significant increase in short sales. We know there'll be a significant increase in foreclosures once these forbearances are over and so on. So for those of you who have never been involved in a short sale, and if you weren't around in 2011, 12, 13, you may not have been. What a short sale is when a homeowner has to or wants to sell their house and the value is less than what they owe, minus cost to sell. So the mortgage balances are $320, the property's worth $280, they can't sell it unless we do a short sale. And a short sale is where we send seller's financial documentation and the offer and the HUD to the lender, and the lender then decides if they will approve the offer, allowing it to close, release the lien, which clears title, and waive the balance of the debt. That's the goal in all short sales. That's how they work. We get them to say they can close, release the lien, and waive the balance of the debt. Anybody have any questions on that? Okay, so a little basics on short sales. If any of you were around working with us in 2010, 11, 12, some of those short sales took 6 months, 9 months, or a year or more to get approved. In today's world, it's 30 to 75 days from the time the offer is submitted to the lenders. Depends on the type of loan. Conventional loans are 30 to 45 days. FHA mortgages can take a couple of months because they have stricter lender guidelines on the approval process. So I just want you to know, even as a buyer's agent, don't be so afraid of short sales, because you're going to find out within likely 6 to 8 weeks if the short sale's approved or not, and you can head to closing. So when you make an offer on a short sale, you can probably count on that you're going to be closing on it in 3 to 4 months on the outside, okay? Lenders, all government loans pay 6% commission. It's non-negotiable. They won't pay more, but they don't pay less. They pay standard 6% commission. 80% of all loans are government loans. Government are FHA, VA, Fannie Mae, and Freddie Mac. There's a lot of private investor conventionals such as US Bank, Chase, Mr. Cooper, a lot of those, Wells Fargo, that also pay 6% commission even when they own the loan. But they will not pay broker admin fees. So when you list a short sale, listed at 6%, no broker admin fee, because the admin, of course, is a commission according to RESPA, and they cap the commission at 6%, so they won't pay 6% plus $395, okay? All short sales must be an arm's length transaction. Arm's length means that the buyer and seller have no current nor previous family or business relationship. So the kids can't sell it to dad and then rent it back. It's another thing about arm's length agreements. The seller must leave the property and never live there again. So she can't sell the townhouse to her boyfriend, then they get married, then she moves back in. If it's a short sale, it doesn't work. And real estate agents, closers, buyers and sellers all sign affidavits stating that that is true. And if you know it's not true, that if you know the seller's going to stay there, or you know they're related, or there's a business relationship, you're committing mortgage fraud. So it's not something to hide from the lenders. They must be arm's length transactions. When you list a short sale, there's a myth in the real estate community that you have to list it at a high price and reduce it to show the lender that you tried to give them the maximum amount of money. That statement was even taught like in the CDP class and some of those designation courses 10 years ago. It's not true now. It wasn't true then. When you list a short sale, you want to list at the same price as you would a traditional sale. You do your CMA, looking at most recently sold comps and considering the condition of this property. You know, it may show that it's going to sell between 250 and 275, but this one's got some deferred maintenance and condition problems, so you may be listed at 265. So listed at fair market value, considering the condition and as compared to the recently sold comps. But then you guys know the market's hot, so if you don't get an offer in a reasonable amount of time, you know you're overpriced. If you're priced right and it's under 350, you're probably going to get multiple offers the first weekend, right? So you don't want to leave a short sale listed at the same price for an extended period of time. The strategy is you reduce the price every 2 to 3 weeks until you get an offer, okay? So that's the listing idea. When you get an offer on the property, in the short sale guide that I sent you, I sent you 2 things. One was the outline of this class. So read through that after the class. It'll remind you of what I said. It's also even got more facts in there that we don't have time to cover today. So there's that. But also the short sale guide, save it on your desktop or in your documents, because that is a guide from us to our listing agents that this is exactly how you do it. And in the guide, it tells you what goes on at the lenders, what you can count on us for, and what we count on you for. It'll also tell you what is and is not allowed on the offer, so that you don't send an offer that's automatically not approvable. And I'm going to give you some examples. First of all, you want to make sure that the offer is at fair market value as determined by your CMA. If you've got it listed for 265 and you know that's market value and the offer is 230, don't let your seller sign it. There's too many people in the real estate industry that think the seller should sign it, and then we'll see what the lender will take or not. It's not a good idea, because your seller is in default and they're headed for foreclosure. So they don't have time to waste 6 to 8 weeks on a lowball offer that's going to be rejected, and then the buyer walks and you got to do it all over again. So make sure that that anything your seller signs regarding price is within at least 5% of what you believe the short sale lender's appraisal will come in at. No electronic signatures. Everything must be hand signed in a short sale. Purchase agreements, addendums, short sale affidavits, no electronic signatures. So put it right in agent remarks, no electronic signatures. As a matter of fact, in your short sale guide we sent you, there's a short sale offer instructions, 4-page document that a lot of our realtors upload as a required supplement in MLS. It tells the buyer's agent what is and is not allowed on the offer, and so on. So it's a good document to use. No buyer closing costs paid for conventional funding buyer, paid by the seller. For seller concessions, if the buyer is financing FHA or VA or USDA, almost all lenders will consider paying up to 3% closing costs for a VA, FHA, or USDA funding buyer, but they will pay 0 closing costs for a conventional buyer. Have I ever seen a variance to the no CCs for conventional funding buyers paid by seller? Yeah, but they're so rare, don't do it. Because again, you don't want your offer to get rejected because it's terms that violate the approval policies of the lender. So maximum 3% for FHA, VA, or USDA funding buyers, closing costs paid by the seller, and 0 for a conventional funding buyer. On the short sale contingency addendum, provide 90 days for approval. Yes, we'll probably get it approved in less than that, but it's better to have a cushion to underpromise and overproduce. So where it calls for the approved by date, give 90 days from the date of the purchase agreement. So you don't have to keep extending it throughout the process if it takes a while. Require that earnest money be deposited now and home inspection done now, not after approval. Your seller needs to have earnest money deposited now because that's the only way that you're going to know if the buyer leaves the transaction. There's too many people that make offers on short sales, don't deposit earnest money, keep looking at other properties, go make an offer on another property because their buyer's agent doesn't know what they're doing. And all of a sudden you've lost the buyer and you don't know it. Okay, and that property has to be remarketed. So the only way you know that the buyer is leaving the transaction is by having deposited earnest money so that you get the cancellation and go get another buyer. Regarding the inspection at the time of the offer, that's critically important for both the buyer and the seller. Again, the seller's headed for foreclosure. If the buyer doesn't do their inspection, now we go through a 2-month short sale approval process. They get the short sale approved, then the buyer does their inspection. Then they find out that the roof is shot and now they want to adjust their price or cancel. You can't have them cancel later after approval. That's a detriment to the seller because again, we've lost that 2 months of marketing time to another buyer. Also for the buyer's agents, they should advise their buyers to do the inspection at the time of the offer, because during the inspection, a lot of these short sales have deferred maintenance and there's things that need to be fixed and the seller doesn't have the money to fix it, so the buyer buys it as is. And once they've done the inspection, they may decide that they need to adjust the price down before the offer is submitted to the lender. They can't adjust the price after it's been approved. Too late then. So all they can do is cancel. So that's why they need to do the home inspection up front for both the buyer and the seller's sake. There's a lot of things that typical traditional sellers will pay for that's customary, but a short sale lender will not pay for them. They will not pay for TISH reports. They will not pay for resale disclosure certificates. The short sale lenders won't. They won't pay for home warranties for the buyer. The short sale lenders won't pay any work orders and they will not pay for any septic tests or water tests. So some of those things that are traditionally a seller expense, in the negotiations of the offer, you need to make them a buyer expense because your seller probably has no money, okay, to pay for those items. So remember that. Any questions on that? What is and is not allowed in the offer? Okay, market value, hand signatures, correct buyer CCs paid by seller, earnest money now, inspection now, and watch what you're typically asking a seller to pay for that short sale lender won't pay for. I want to tell you a little bit, why does it take, 4 to 8 weeks to get a short sale approved? What goes on at the lender is this. Or first, before I do that, I want to tell you about a short sale package. What goes in a short sale package? It is the purchase agreement, the listing agreement, copy of the MLS, a seller's hardship letter explaining why they can't afford the payments, a financial statement, it's called an MAA, mortgage assistance application, which is a financial statement, a 2 months of proof of income, like pay stubs or Social Security benefits or unemployment benefit statements, 3 months of seller's bank statements, and 2 months of tax returns. That's what's in a short sale package. And when it all gets submitted to the lender, the first thing they do is they assign a processor, and the processor goes through all the documents to determine if the file is complete. We talk to the lenders about 3 days after we send everything in. It takes them a couple days to get it uploaded and reviewed. We call them every few days to make sure that there's nothing else they need. If there is, we supply it and make sure that the file's complete. Once its file's complete, it goes to an underwriter, just like a new loan underwriter. The underwriter then reviews the seller's financial situation to confirm that they are eligible for short sale based on the rules of the type of loan they have. FHA and VA have different seller eligibility rules from each other. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have different eligibility rules than maybe a US bank owned loan. Okay, all the investors have different guidelines on what makes a seller eligible for short sale. We know what those guidelines are. So during the initial consultation, if the attorney sees something that he knows there's a reason the seller is not eligible for short sale at all, we'll tell you not to list the property. Okay. So they review the seller for eligibility, and then they order a property appraisal or a BPO, a broker price opinion, or both. If the seller's mortgage is VA, the lender orders a VA appraisal. If it's FHA, they order an FHA appraisal. If it's Fannie Mae, they order a conventional appraisal and a BPO. Okay, because they want to know what the market value is of that property to compare to the buyer's offer. So once the seller has been confirmed as eligible for short sale by the underwriter and the appraisal is in, then the negotiator reviews the buyer's offer to confirm that it meets the requirements for approval based on the particular type of loan they have. If they believe that it meets the investor approval requirements, then the negotiator sends the file off to the investor. The investor says, yep, you did a good job, you can approve it. Then it goes back to the lender, and then the lender sends us a short sale approval letter. If the buyer's offer is not sufficient, the lender will counteroffer to the buyer. Now, sometimes those counteroffers, some lenders, they have to counter back at appraisal value, even though they may take a little less. We know when there is or is not wiggle room on a short sale counteroffer. We know that Fannie Mae has some flexibility if there's no buyer closing costs paid, even though they're countering back at appraisal value. We know that US Bank, if the appraisal, they will take 95 cents on the dollar on the appraisal value. So if the appraisal is 200, they'll approve 190. We know what they do. So when you're working with us, when I get a counteroffer from the lender, I'll let you know if either the buyer accepts this or signs a cancellation, or give me their highest and best, providing it's a minimum of X dollars. Okay, because we know what those rules are, and we know what each of these lenders will do in any given particular situation, almost all the time. So that's basically what goes on at the lenders, why it takes a couple of months. And by the way, you can't speed them up. You know, I've had realtors say, call them every day, call them every day. If I call them every day, once they get to my file, they're probably going to go out for lunch and throw it on the floor because they're so mad at me. We give them time to do their work, but we do talk to them every 3 to 5 business days to make sure it's going on. Also, because of all the years we've been in this and the contacts we've made, I have the name, email, and phone number of almost all of the highest executives in loss mitigation in all the major lenders. Like example, the head of all loss mitigation at US Bank, I have a cell phone number and he'll answer it when I call. Because they know that we escalate when they've got a problem, when they're not doing it right, or sometimes we can escalate to upper management to get a short sale approved that doesn't fit within their little box, right, of guidelines, but it still makes sense, business sense for them to approve it. But if we're just dealing with the negotiators, they don't have the authority to do it. But when I get to management and we discuss it, sometimes we can get one approved that was previously declined. So that's what goes on at the lenders. Any questions on that? Okay, you guys are good. You're getting it all. No short sales in the redemption period anymore. 10 years ago, you know, Minnesota has a 6-month redemption period. Once a sheriff's sale occurs, the homeowner still owns the property for 6 months. 10 years ago, we could do short sales in the redemption period. In today's world, there's very, very rare circumstances where you can do a short sale in the redemption period. Lenders, first lien holders will not do it. So if the first mortgage has foreclosed, if the sheriff's sale has occurred, you can't do a short sale with the first mortgage company anymore. But some of these people have, their property is worth enough that they're not short on the first mortgage, they're only short on the second mortgage. You know, say their first mortgage is 200 and their second mortgage is 60. So they owe 260 and the property's worth 250. The first mortgage is going to get paid in full, only the second mortgage is being shorted. In most of those cases, you can do a short sale in the redemption period because the second mortgage wants their money. And you don't have to get approval from the first because they're being paid in full. So through the by paying the redemption amount. So what I want you to know is if you've got a seller with the sheriff's sale coming up within the next 30 days, or it's already occurred, don't list the property until you talk to me, because I can let you know in their specific situation if a short sale is still possible or not. And a lot of lenders will, not only will they not work a short sale in the redemption period, but they want a full package, complete package with offer into them at least 30 days prior to the sheriff's sale date. So now our deadline isn't the sheriff's sale date, it's 30 days prior to get an offer into the company. So again, if sheriff's sale's been scheduled, it's a short sale, call me before you list it. I'll let you know if it's possible or not. Now, in the state of Minnesota, I'm going to take a minute and explain how foreclosure works. When somebody's in default, at least 90 days in default, if they're not in a forbearance, the lender will begin, can and likely will begin foreclosure proceedings. What they do after 90 days of default, the lender sends a homeowner a letter saying, you are in default, you have 30 days to contact us to make arrangements to make up the payments. And of course, when people are broke, they don't have the money, they don't contact the lender. So 30 days goes by, and then the lender sends the loan to a foreclosing attorney to begin foreclosure. The foreclosing attorney sends a notice to the homeowner saying, your lender has accelerated your mortgage. You are in default. If you believe that this was done unlawfully, you have 30 days to contact us. Of course, the homeowner doesn't contact them. So after 30 days, the foreclosing attorney sends another letter that says, okay, now you're in full foreclosure, and the sheriff's sale is scheduled for, August 12th. You have until that date to reinstate the mortgage, and here's your reinstatement amount. What reinstate the mortgage means is the homeowner comes up with the reinstatement fee. The reinstatement fee is all the missed payments, any escrow shortages, any late fees, and foreclosing attorney's fees. So it may be that their missed payments total only $10,000, but the reinstatement fee is $12,200 because of the attorney's fees and other things. So if a homeowner goes down to the foreclosing attorney's office and pays the reinstatement fee prior to the sheriff's sale occurring, it will stop the foreclosure, and then they got to be able to make their monthly house payments again so it doesn't go back into foreclosure. If a homeowner doesn't reinstate the mortgage by the sheriff's sale date, then the sheriff's sale occurs. Once the sheriff's sale occurs, the homeowner has a 6-month redemption period. In that redemption period, they cannot just reinstate the mortgage anymore. They have to pay the full redemption amount, which is usually the full amount of the mortgage, attorney's fees, late fees, et cetera, et cetera. So, and they got to do it with certified funds. Well, of course, they couldn't make their payments. Of course, they don't have the reinstatement amount. But they can also reinstate by selling the home. So if the reinstatement amount is $230 and the home is worth $290, after cost to sell, there's $270 left over. You pay the reinstatement amount to the sheriff of $230, and the homeowner gets to keep the $40,000. And I wanted to make this clear to you guys because a lot of people are going to be in foreclosure, and values haven't dropped yet. So a lot of people in foreclosure have equity in the home, and they can sell it and get that equity out, even if the sheriff's sale has occurred, as long as they close by the end of the redemption period, the end of the redemption date. A lot of homeowners don't realize that. They think once the sheriff's sale has happened that they don't own the house anymore. They only get 6 more months to live there, and they leave $30,000, $40,000 equity on the table. So I want you to know that you can sell a house in the redemption period if there's equity in the house and the homeowner gets to keep the equity. Any questions on that? Okay. In Minnesota, a homeowner has a right to postpone their own sheriff's sale if they occupy the property, if it's homesteaded and they occupy the property. So, but they must postpone it at least 15 days prior to the sheriff's sale date. And in the short sale guide I sent you, the last 4 or 5 pages is instructions on how a homeowner can postpone their own sheriff's sale. What they do, I'll just summarize it for you, but it's very clear instructions in there. There's an affidavit in the guide, an affidavit of occupancy. The homeowner signs that in front of a notary. They take a copy of the affidavit of occupancy and a copy of the foreclosure notification down to the county recorder's office, pay $46 to record it. Then they deliver a copy to the sheriff's department, and they deliver a copy to the foreclosing attorney. And if they do that at least 15 days prior to the sheriff's sale date, it postpones the sheriff's sale for 5 months. It reduces the redemption period from 6 months to 5 weeks, but it postpones the sheriff's sale for 5 months. So it gives the homeowner 5 more months of options, 5 more months to do a short sale. Or maybe Aunt Mary dies and leaves them $40,000 bucks. They got 5 more months to reinstate the mortgage and get it out of foreclosure. But they must do it at least 15 days prior to the sheriff's sale date. Okay, so if the sheriff's sale's on the 30th of July, they got to do this by the 14th of July. Any questions on that? So when you run into a homeowner that's in foreclosure and they want to sell the property, whether it's traditional sale or short sale, give them the postponement instructions and tell them it's critically important that they postpone the sheriff's sale so it leaves all their options over for an additional 5 months. Okay? Any questions yet? Okay, we're zipping right on. Relocation funds. Why should a homeowner do a short sale rather than let it go through foreclosure? Well, one thing is a lot of people have more than one mortgage on the property. If the property is foreclosed, it's usually foreclosed on by the senior lien holder, the first mortgage. And the first mortgage, when they foreclose by advertisement in Minnesota, which is almost all the foreclosures, they get the house back, but they cannot go after the homeowner for any of the balance due. Okay, it's called waiving the deficiency balance. They get the house, the lender gets the house through foreclosure, but they can't come after the homeowner for any of the balance of the debt. But a lot of these people have second or third mortgages on the home. If it goes through foreclosure, the second and third mortgage, at the end of the redemption period, they lose their lien rights against the property, but the obligation of the debt still remains on the homeowner. So if they've got a first and second mortgage, say they're even with the same company, both with Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo first mortgage forecloses, takes the house back. Wells Fargo second mortgage is going to sue them and put liens, judgments, et cetera, that's going to haunt them for 11 years. So the point of a short sale is through a short sale, we get all the lenders to waive the balance. So they don't owe any lender anything at the end of a short sale. Also, it's a graceful exit from an underwater property. A lot of people have pride in their neighborhood and pride in themselves, and they don't want to see bank owned, you know, hanging below their for sale sign after they moved out in the middle of the night. So a short sale is more private. Their neighbors don't know that they've got problems. It's just a sale. You know, the only way people know is if they see it in MLS. So more dignified and graceful exit from an underwater property. And the last thing is all government loans and some private investor conventionals will give a homeowner $3,000 at closing for relocation assistance on a short sale. FHA, Fannie Mae, VA give $3,000 to the homeowner. VA gives $1,500 to the homeowner. U.S. Bank owned loans, Mr. Cooper owned loans. A lot of private investor conventionals will give $3,000 to the homeowner for closing on a short sale, providing that they occupy the property at the time it was approved. So the point there is, it helps you get short sale listings. They can get $3,000, whereas if they walk away, they get nothing. Number two, tell your sellers to stay in the property. Don't tell them to move out, because the house will show better if they get all their crap out. You know, I've had so many homeowners tell me, well, we moved out 2 months ago. Why'd you move out? You could stay there. You weren't making payments. It helps you get back on your feet again financially. They say, well, our realtor told us to move out because it's a short sale. It'll be better. So actually the opposite is true. Tell your sellers not to move out until the short sale is approved, because there's 80% chance they'll get $3,000 at closing. Any questions on that? Okay. Now I want to talk to you guys about some things that we have run into. You know, for those of you who are my age and been in the business a long time, you remember what we went through in 2007, 8, 9, 10. It took until 2015 to clean up the real estate mess that was caused by the foreclosure crisis of 2008 and 9. And when I mean clean up the mess, I mean bankruptcies that were filed for people starting over, foreclosures completed, short sales completed, but also loan modifications that a lot of people did. So even though they were far behind on their payments, they were able to do a loan mod, get a reduced payment, and not have to make up those back payments immediately. All of those things can and may have created a title issue that real estate agents aren't aware of. When people did loan modifications, and there were a lot of them in the last 5 to 10 years, most of the lenders took all those missed payments and put them on the title as a second mortgage. It's called a partial claim mortgage. And sellers don't realize they have that partial claim mortgage because three reasons. One, they didn't read the stuff when they signed it on the loan mod. Two, there's no interest accruing on that partial claim second mortgage, and there's no payments made or due on that second mortgage. So they don't get a payment book or a coupon book or anything in the mail. It's just on their title. So a lot of realtors are out there listing properties. The homeowner tells them they have one mortgage. You look at the mortgage statement, you do a net sheet, you think they got 40,000 equity, and then a week before closing, you find out there's a partial claim mortgage for 50,000. Not only do they not have equity, but now it's a short sale. And I'll tell you folks, I get at least one, commonly 2 or 3 phone calls a month from listing agents that said, oh my God, we sold their house, we're closing next week, and title work just came in and we find out there's a second mortgage. What can we do about it? Well, it has to be paid in order to close, or it's a short sale, if the offer isn't sufficient to cover the full payment. I had one, this is the worst one I had. Realtor contacted me, quite experienced realtor. I'd done transactions with him 10 years ago. He called me all in a snit because they were closing on a week from Thursday. Title work came in. He thought the homeowners had $35,000 equity, but there was a $65,000 partial claim second mortgage they were unaware of. So not only did they not have equity, but now it's a short sale. So he's wondering if I could get the short sale approved by a week from Thursday, and of course I just laughed. So we did do a short sale on it, but here's the really sad news. That homeowner that thought they had 35 grand equity, they had made an offer on another house. And those sellers had made an offer on another house. So there were three transactions in a row that were supposed to close a week from Thursday that didn't close because the bottom one on the ladder had a second mortgage that nobody knew about. And the point is the listing agent should have known. Because regardless what the seller tells you, check title. In today's world with all this stuff, check the title before you list properties. Here's another situation that comes up.
Wait, Wendy?
Yeah.
So how could there be a second mortgage that the sellers don't know about? Or are they just trying to hide it?
No, the sellers don't know about it. As I explained, in the loan modification documents that they sign, it says that all their back payments are being put on as a partial claim second mortgage, but the sellers don't read it. And they don't have to make payments on it, and there's no interest on it. It just has to be paid when you sell, as a balloon payment when you sell. So the sellers are unaware of it. So now there's another issue that sellers are unaware of is bankrupted second and third mortgages. A lot of people had to file bankruptcy in the last 10 years. When you get a mortgage, you sign 2 documents. One is the note, which is your personal promise to pay. It says, I, Wendy Haisley, owe $240,000 to Wells Fargo on this loan, okay? The second document you sign is the mortgage. The mortgage is the lien rights against the property. So the mortgage attaches to the property, the note attaches to the person for responsibility. When you file bankruptcy, your personal and the mortgages are discharged in the bankruptcy, the debt is discharged. It's your personal obligation to the debt under the note that's discharged, but the mortgage lien remains on the property and must be paid if you sell the property or refinance. With most second mortgage companies and third mortgage companies, once it's a bankrupted note, they quit sending out monthly payments. They just sit there with their lien rights on the property. So a lot of homeowners who didn't get good legal advice from their BK attorney or didn't understand what they were saying or didn't ask the questions, they think that second mortgage went away. It didn't. Only their personal obligation under the note went away in the BK. So there's a lot of realtors, again, listing properties, thinking there's only one mortgage, doing a net sheet with only one mortgage, get a week before closing and find out that there's that $40,000 second with Wells Fargo bankrupted note that still has to be paid. So my point to you is if I was out there working as a realtor today, I would look my seller in the eyes and I would say, have you ever done a loan modification or filed bankruptcy? If the answer is yes, I'm not going to list that property or show them a net sheet until I check title. If they get red in the face, look down at the floor and then say no, I'm going to assume they either think it's none of my business or they're too embarrassed to tell me, and I'm still going to check the title, because you don't want to sell the property and find out later about these unknown second and third mortgages. Because if it happens, the seller's going to blame you and the buyer's agent's going to blame you and everybody's going to blame you. So check the title. Now, if you've got a preferred title company that you work with all the time and a preferred closer, contact them prior to listing a property and ask them for an O&E. That's owners and encumbrances. The letter O, the word and, the letter E. Stands for owners and encumbrances report. It's not a full title commitment. It's just O&E. It'll show you all the liens that are on the property. Judgment liens, state and federal tax liens, all mortgages, bankrupted mortgages, unbankrupted mortgages, partial claim mortgages. That's how you'll know how much is really owed on that property before you list it. Any questions on that? Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about the forbearances that are going on right now. It sounds so wonderful. All these lenders are sending out computer-generated letters to their homeowners. You don't have to make your payments for 3 months. We can put you in a forbearance. If you're having difficulty, call this number, blah, 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 blah. But they don't give you the whole scoop, okay? And every type of loan has different forbearance rules and how they're going to collect the money later. Now, with FHA, if it's an FHA forbearance, they are doing it just like the old loan mods. You can miss your payments for, the only benefit to a forbearance, by the way, is there's no negative credit reporting if you miss some payments. That's the only benefit. But the money still has to be paid. So with conventional mortgages, private investor conventional mortgages, most of them are offering a 90-day forbearance. So you say, oh, great, you know, I was out of work for 2 months. I can't make the mortgage payment, or my commissions are down or whatever. I'm going to skip making my mortgage payment for the 3 months that they're allowing me. At the end of the 3 months, the full balance is due. So if you couldn't pay $3,000 a month or $2,000 a month on your house payment for July, August, and September, how are you going to come up with $8,000 in October when the October payment is due, right? So there's that. Now, some of those lenders will give you an additional 90 days. So now it goes to 180 days. And at the end of the 180 days, the payments are due. And if you can't make up all 6 months of payments, you go into default, you can head into foreclosure. Now, some of those lenders will set you up on a payment plan. Oh, you can't make up the whole 6 months? Okay, we'll take those 6 months of payments and spread them over the next year. Well, if you couldn't pay $2,000 a month in October, December, you know, October, November, December, January, how are you going to pay $3,000 a month for the next year? So again, they can't make the structured payments. They go into default. They go into foreclosure. This is when you're going to end up with all these people in foreclosure. You're going to be listing properties in foreclosure when all these forbearances run out. So that's the conventional ones, okay? Now, FHA, what they're doing is they'll give a 180-day forbearance. If you can't start the payments again in 180 days, they'll give you another 180 days. So that's a year. At the end of the year, now you got to start making your payments again, or you go into default, go into foreclosure. But they'll take that whole year of missed payments and put it on the title as a partial claim second mortgage. So you're going to be running into this for years, these unknown second mortgages for people that did forbearances. Now, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, they're scarier yet. What they're doing is they'll do a 6-month forbearance. If you can't make up the payments, another 6-month forbearance. And they're taking that 1 year of missed payments. They're not putting it on the title as a partial claim second mortgage. It's only going to show in the payoffs. It's due as a balloon payment either when you sell or refi, or have paid off the other 30 years of loan, paid off the rest of it. Then it's a balloon payment due at that time. People don't read what they sign. They don't know it's out there. So if they did a Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac forbearance, the only way you'll know how, and it's not going to show on their mortgage statement, okay? It's not going to show in their principal balance on the mortgage statement. So the only way you'll know how much they owe to that lender with Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac forbearance is if you call the lender and order a payoff prior to listing the property. Now, here's one other thing about the forbearances. If somebody goes into a forbearance, they cannot get a new mortgage or refinance for 2 years after the end of the forbearance. So let's say somebody starts a forbearance today, they're not out of it until July 30th, 2021. Those people can't get a new mortgage till end of July 2023. They don't know that. Only a new loan officer can tell them that when they go and apply and get turned down. But you guys need to know that, because when the market, when we get through all this COVID crap, the economy is going to get great again. You're going to have a hot market then again too, even if it slumps some in the meantime. So you go out and list a property, somebody maybe had a little difficulty now, she owns a beauty shop, she was going to move up, but then COVID came, so they're delaying the the move up. So now they get a forbearance, and then now the business is open again, COVID's gone. 6 months later, now they're going to go buy the 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 2-story in Plymouth, right? So they call you, you list their little split entry in Brooklyn Park, and it sells overnight. And then they go and make a loan app with a new loan officer to go buy what they want to buy, and they get turned down for the new loan, and you might have just left them homeless. Okay? So this is going to haunt you guys. I'm just telling you, it's going to affect your business. Loan mod partial claim mortgages, forbearance partial claim mortgages, forbearance amounts owed that you won't know unless you order a payoff from the lender, bankrupted notes. It's all there, and it's going to haunt you for a long, long time. So just know that if they go into forbearance, they can't get a new mortgage or refi for a minimum of 2 years from the end of the forbearance, and check title and order payoffs from all lenders before you list a property, because this is going to affect your business for years and years and years to come. It's going to take a lot of years to clean up this mess. Any questions on any of that? Okay. Trouble with real estate agents. They teach you how to write a purchase agreement, and KW does a lot of education and so on and so forth. But unfortunately in the business, there's too many things that real estate agents don't know until they should have known it and have a problem with a closing or something. So that's why we're volunteering to give all these classes, not even so much for the short sale thing. They'll come, people will call us, but it's mainly so that you understand the problems of these forbearances and loan mods and things that will affect the title, that will affect whether or not you can close if you don't do your homework prior to listing. So that's all I had. Wow. No questions, under an hour. That's good.
So actually, Wendy, I have a comment more than a question.
Yeah.
How you doing, by the way, Wendy? Thanks for the refresher.
I'm doing good, thank you.
Yeah. So I'd like to put
short
in,
sales though for job security.
I know. So
Yeah.
I'd like to put in a quick little plug for Wendy Haisley at MZ. I've probably done 10 shorts with MZ, And there is absolutely no reason an agent should not use MZ on a short. They have perfected the process. MZ is going to make you look good, so use them. I just got to tell you, the last short I had was back in 2018, and my seller was in the dumps. And she walked away from that closing with over $3,000 cash. She was hugging me while she was crying. And by the way, 3 weeks ago, I got a referral from that gal for a seller in Edina. So it'll come back and help you. They're a little bit more work, but if you use MZ, it will make your life easy. Wendy, you do a great job.
Thank you. Rick, what's your last name? It just says Rick's iPhone.
Bateson.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
You know, Wendy, I was just thinking that this prepares us to be a really good fiduciary and advisor for our clients, that, you know, knowing that forbearance is going to affect them being able to buy again and being able to give them that information before they're homeless and help them prepare for the next level really enables us to be a good partner to
And
our
another
clients.
thing I'd like to mention, been working short sales for 11 years. This stuff changes all the time. So what I told you about the forbearances with the different types of loans, that's what they're doing today. It doesn't mean that won't change 4 months from now. Also with new loans, okay, how I got clued in on the no new loans for 2 years, my daughter's a loan officer. And she had a client that was refining. He's gainfully employed, everything's good. He's doing a refi just to drop his interest rate 1.5%. And he gets this letter from his lender about a forbearance. So a month before the refi, or 6 weeks before the refi closes, he took the forbearance, thinking, well, then I got 1 month of not making the house payment, I'm refining anyway. He just did it for convenience. And then she has to rewrite everything, you know, right prior to closing. And she said, did you do a forbearance? Yeah. She said, no, you can't refi for 2 years. Now, so just know that may change. So the place to get what I want you to realize is sellers are going to ask you stuff that you may think you know, but not for sure. And again, it all changes. So if they're going to ask the effects of their forbearance on and when they have to repay and how is it repaid, don't advise them. Tell them to call their lender and ask. That's where they will get the rules from their specific type of loan.
Right.
Also, when it comes to this rebuy and refi stuff, before they make any move, get them to a loan officer to do a loan app before you list their property and leave them homeless, because that's the person that will have the expert knowledge at that time. It's applicable at that time. Because what we're telling you right now is what's applicable today, but these lenders change their rules in the middle of the game all the time. One other thing I want to tell you guys is use me as a resource. My name, email, and phone is on all that stuff that you got sent. Or ask Rick, he's got it. Wendy's got it. But use me as a resource. If you're not sure if it's a possible short sale or not, call me. If you've got a past client in foreclosure and the sheriff sale's tomorrow and what can we do, call me. Because if I don't have the answer, I can get you the answer. I work with 3 of the best real estate attorneys in the state. But also I know a lot of this stuff because I've asked them, you know, over 11 years. So I get the same response, so I know how to answer. So anything, maybe you've got a cousin in trouble, you know, in Rochester, and you're just kind of wondering what they can do. Is there any options for them? Just call me and I'll tell you. And again, if I don't have the answer, I can get the answer. And if you've got the buyer side of a short sale, and unfortunately the listing agent's trying to do it themselves, and you're not getting responses, you don't know what's going on, you're not even sure if they know what's going on, call me and I'll give you a list of questions to ask them. And I'll tell you, if they're really stumped, they can call me and I can give them advice. Okay? So even if we're not involved in the transaction, use me as a resource. We want to see every homeowner get debt relief, and we want to see every real estate agent earn their commissions. Because who knows what we're going to be facing a year from now, right?
Mhm.
So that's it.
That
Awesome.
was really, really, really helpful, Wendy. Thank you so
Good.
much.
You're welcome.
You
You're welcome.
presented it so clearly that it was great to understand that.
Good. So
Thanks, Wendy.
stay home and stay safe.
You too.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye-bye.